Comic fans, true believers, webheads, welcome to another episode of Worthy Ones, the video series where I take all the newest #1 comic books that I read for the current comic book week and deem them worthy or not worthy. I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. So before we jump into it, guys, I just want to give a quick shout out to a new upcoming Kickstarter project called Destiny Aurora, the audiobook, novel series, and graphic novel. This is produced by Destiny Horizons. The sci-fi novel that launched a franchise comes to life in this audio adventure that will keep you on the edge of your seat. If you guys love science fiction, if you like books like Star Trek, guys, you're definitely going to want to check this out. So save this project when it launches so you can back it today. And I want to appreciate Frank for letting me know about Destiny Aurora and supporting the channel. So the first book we're going to be talking about today, guys, is The Sins of Sinister Dominion. This is kind of like, I guess, the conclusion, kind of the whole Sinister event. You wind up getting the outcome of what happens with Sinister in this issue. Now, the one thing this book really has going for it is very nice artwork, very bright, very vibrant. I love the way this comic looks inside. All the characters have great facial expressions. There's a lot of great action in this artwork, lots of fighting. However, I did feel like this comic was just way too long. I would have loved to seen this maybe go on for, just have it be an event, like 4 issues, instead of having like 2 gigantic issues like they did, right? And plus you had all those other tie-ins. So if you're not really reading the tie-ins, it's kind of like you're going to kind of be lost with this comic book. I felt like a lot of it went in over my head, okay? So I read the first issue, the alpha issue, and it was okay. And I liked the artwork and I liked where it was going. But after having all these like tie-in books and everything in between, you kind of lose what was going on in the world, right? So when you read this, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, things go over your head. You got Sinister, who is trying to take over the world. It's 1,000 years into the future, and he has all his, Sinister experiments out there because the Moira McTaggart lab was stealing from him, and then he had destroyed the lab, and then there's this whole ascension thing, and then they go back to Krakoa. I mean, you understand what I'm getting at here? It's just a lot to digest and a lot to take in, and I feel like in order to appreciate this comic book, you've got to go back and read the alpha issue, and then read this if you didn't read any of the other tie-ins. You did get Rasputin 4 that makes her appearance back in the comic again also, and there's some things that are going to lead into the fall of X. At the end of the day, though, I'm going to deem this book not worth it. It just was just too much. If you decide to get it, like I said, read the alpha issue, read this issue back to back, but be ready to read for like an hour because it's just a lot. It's just a lot. So if I had to grade this book, I gotta grade it a C. I think it has all intentions to be big and huge, but there's just too much, and after not seeing it for a couple of months, it's like, oh, why do I care? So I don't know. I think you can pass on this, and then when Fall of X does come out, you'll start new again with X-Men. But at this point, I think a lot of X-Men, fans out there have checked out when it comes to what's going on in the X-Men universe. So I'm going to really leave this up to your discretion if you're going to pick it up. That's why I'm giving that average grade. Great and beautiful artwork, though. The characters look perfect. So the next #1 book that I decided to pick up this week was Alien issue 1. So I am an Alien fan. I didn't like the last volume too much, so I said, okay, well, we got a new #1 here. Why not try it for Worthy Ones? I might actually like it. The artwork in this book is actually pretty good. You don't get to see too many of the alien creatures in the book. You see them very briefly, but they're like frozen in ice and they don't get to do like really any action. No crazy facial features. You do get to see like the face hugger in this book, but that thing is also frozen. But the characters look good. I like their facial expressions, and I feel like the book does a nice job at introducing the cast of characters who are a family who are stuck on this moon or this planet, and they're trying to get water. Water is a hot commodity. It's a resource. The human population has grown to other places, and they were hired from this smaller company to do this expedition. Well, when they come across the xenomorph, what happens is the family brings it to the moon base, and all of a sudden they get word that this xenomorph was acquired. So you get this large corporation ship that comes, right, bought out the other company to retrieve the xenomorph creature. Now, they come intrude their house while they're eating dinner. They ask all these demands. The family does not really agree with this because they were blindsided by everything. The daughter goes running off. The mom is pregnant. And the dad get thrown in like some type of prison because he doesn't agree with their terms. So all turmoil is broken loose on this base. And meanwhile, while the little girl went to go get supplies and she's running away, she leaves a door open, and the little face hugger, or the xenomorph, whatever you want to call it, winds up looks like breaking free out of the little ice cage that it's actually in, which I thought was kind of interesting because we all know where that's going to go as this series progresses. See, so you can see that in this issue, in this pages right here. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm going to deem this book, yeah, I thought it was very interesting. It was like a first act to a movie, right? We've all seen alien movies before where it's on the ship and the crew gets killed. I mean, we've seen that 1,000 times, and it looks like this time it's just on a planet instead, right? But I am interested to see where it goes. It looks like it's got a lot of fun. I like the pacing, and I like how they actually introduced these characters to where you want to care for them, and they give you these characters as a family, so they make them a little bit more relatable instead of soldiers, right? So where you don't care about soldiers, they just die in the act of war. So you want to root for this family. And again, the mom is pregnant, the father is injured, he has a missing arm, and then you got a little girl. Why would you not root for them to survive, right? So at the end of the day, I'm going to give this book a B. I definitely recommend this book. I think it's fun, and if you're an Alien fan, I think you will enjoy it. So the next issue 1 that I decided to pick up was Darth Vader Black, White, and Red issue 1. So there's a story in here by Jason Aaron, Leonard Kirk, Peach Momoko, and I'm like, it's Darth Vader. It's got to be pretty cool, right? And it's black, white, and blood, so I kind of expect some really great artwork in here. And so I was like, all right, let's get started. Now, with these black, white, and red stories, or black, red, and white, whatever you want to call them, these books tend to be like anthology stories. So they're a bunch of minis, okay? And so the first story is written by Jason Aaron, and it's about this bounty hunter that's actually trying to capture Darth Vader. And you're like, yeah, no one's going to capture Darth Vader, right? So here's the artwork in here. As expected, you got that black, white, and red stuff going on. And, you know, Vader is very menacing. And the story here, the first one, was quite interesting as Darth Vader is trying to acquire information. He's drawn to this bounty hunter, and this bounty hunter somehow captures Darth Vader and actually, like, paralyzes him to where he can't move. And it looks like it's going to be continued in the next issue. So I like that story. The other issues or the other stories, not worth it, man. Holy cow. So you get a story here with Peach Momoko, which was very interesting artwork, right? If you know Peach Momoko's art, it's definitely unique, but this particular story had no, like, dialogue, and it's just like, is this Padme having some kind of nightmare where Darth Vader is chasing her? Like, I don't even know. Like, it didn't make any sense. She's, like, fighting him and stuff like that. And then, like, at the end of the actual story, she like is waking up and like taken by his presence, or he's always watching her. It's just weird, right? So I was like, okay, let's move on to the next story. And then the next story, you have this base that, I don't know, that is being protected, and some kind of freaking scientist had access to, I don't know. It just wasn't there for me. In fact, those second stories, the second and third stories, had no Darth Vader in it. Like, you got to see that weird artsy-fartsy Darth Vader, and then in this third story, Darth Vader shows up in the very last, like, page of the book. And you don't even get to see him do anything, like, really dark. You just get to see him clench his fist, and he's like, too bad, so sad for you. That's it, you know? I mean, this book's not worthy. It's not worthy. I'm not going to pay $5 for one good story that's 8 pages, and the other 2 stories are not great, right? So, definitely, guys, if I had to grade this book based off of the 3 stories, I'm going to give this book a D. Good first story, but not enough to continue it for me. So the next book we're going to be talking about was a book that was supposed to be released 2 weeks ago. And I know some of you guys did get this book, but I just got it yesterday. This is World Tree. This is issue 1, done by James Tynion. And this book was, oh my gosh, this book is definitely very dark. And this is not for an underage audience. There's definitely nudity in this book. So this is something that the little kids need to stay away from. So I can't show you the artwork just because there is so much nudity, but it is good artwork. It's just very dark. And what this book is about is it's this kid by the name of Gibson Lane, who is like 15 years old, and he commits this murder, and he's being influenced by this dark web, or I guess World Tree, I don't even know, but she is this female that, like, I don't know, somehow gets connected to this dark web, and she takes off her clothes and she starts influencing other people, and she makes her appearance as well, and eventually once the host has enough, she like kills. Dude, it's so freaking, it's so weird, bro. And just seeing the murders happen in this comic book, and like all the mass murders this 15-year-old commits, is just insane, right? And so we wind up meeting the older brother, who his name is Ellison Lane, and he finds out on Instagram that he is the one that's committing all these murders, and he's been taken in for murder, and he goes and visits him in jail to talk to him to figure out what's going on, to be by his side by this whole thing. And yeah, like I said, we wind up getting this female character full of tats just come and says, you were a good host, and just just freaking murders the kid. Oh my god, I'm telling you guys, this book is insane. It is morbid. That's right, guys. I really enjoyed this book. It really is dark though, and we find out a little bit, kind of like how this is somewhat created. You get a hacker, or a guy that created the dark web, by the name of Gabriel Winter, and he's trying to locate Liam, right? Who is the ones I think that created this whole thing to begin with, and they put a lid on it originally, and somehow this thing got let out. This is a great book. I mean, it's very mysterious. It's very entertaining. It's just, you want to find out more, and you can't believe that the envelope is pushed this far when it comes to this, because in a way this can happen in real world, right? And so, yeah, very entertaining book. I'm going to give this book an A. Really good. Again, just not for the younger audience. So the next #1 issue that I did pick up and had to pick up, and it was a must pick up probably for all of you guys out there this week, Green Arrow, issue 1. Oh my gosh, guys. So excited this series is back. It's confirmed that it is 12 issues, and I was so excited to read this book. This was the first book I read of the comic book week, and I couldn't have been more happier when it came to this comic. You know, I'm not a huge DC guy. You guys know that, right? And so why I love Green Arrow so much was basically from like the Justice League Unlimited series. I loved his character in there. I loved when he teamed up with like Green Lantern in some of the books there. And then I really loved Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino's run on Green Arrow. I thought that was really awesome, even though it's kind of like a different version of Ollie, maybe a little bit darker, with Amiko and whatnot. But I really liked it, and every time I've always, came across a Green Arrow book, I would read it, and I love the character, and I obviously watched the TV show, so that's how I got interested into the character. But going back to the comic book, Joshua Williamson is the writer of this comic book. We got art and cover by Sean Isaac. I don't even know. Sorry, bro. Your art is absolutely gorgeous, though, man. You got a 2-page spread in here of, Ollie training and kind of like where he came from. You got a great opening page in this book. But the one thing that I really loved in this comic was just the reintroduction to some characters that we haven't seen in Ollie's family in such a long time. So you got Roy Harper, and Connor Hawke, which you did actually see him in the Robin series. So I guess we've seen him in a while. But we wind up getting to see Black Canary, Dinah. And I was like, oh man, she's back too. And then you wind up getting to see Cheshire in this comic, which is Roy's daughter, which... I'll tell you the truth, guys, I did not know that. How old is Roy Harper, right? Because, Ollie trained him when he was a kid, so, how old is Ollie? I want to know, an age frame. If you could put that in the comments below, let me know. But we got introduced to all these characters. We got reintroduced to Ollie again and where he came from. So I felt like this was a great way to get new readers on a comic book, and that was so much fun. And right from the first page, you were introduced to Ollie being in this different world, this different dimension, and you're kind of like, okay, how did he get here? But before we got to that part of the story, that's how we get introduced to everybody else. And it was really cool. They were doing just battle against common thugs and the interactions with each other, the reuniting of all the characters, and once everything is all happy and go lucky as they all meet with each other again, then we wind up seeing people getting teleported to a different place. And we have to get a hold of Amanda Waller, of course, right? And then we see Cheshire gets transported to where Ollie's at. They're doing battle against manhunters. Oh my god, it's so much fun. And Ollie's probably been here for quite a while. He's got some crazy arrow that's like a chainsaw arrow. It's just off the wall, so much fun. This is what comics is, man. I was like a kid when reading this comic book. This book is freaking worthy. That's right, this is by far a phenomenal comic book, and you guys should read this book. This is an A++++, baby. Pick this bad boy up. I'm hoping the momentum continues all the way through with this comic book. Can't wait to see where it goes next. So if there are any other number ones out there that I didn't pick up that you picked up and you deemed worthy or not worthy, leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear it. And if you love the content, guys, make sure you checked out my comic book haul for this past week. I actually went in the shop and I filmed to give you a tour of what the shop looked like. Really a lot of fun, guys. And of course, as always, keep buying, keep collecting, but most importantly, you gotta read those comics. Guys, I'll see you real soon.